Hello there, friends. It's so good to have you with me today on Wisdom of Aging. I want to start by asking you something that's been on my mind lately. Have you ever made a decision you later wish you could take back? Maybe something that felt right at the time, but as the days went on, you realized it wasn't quite what you hoped for? Well, today, I want to share a story with you, my story. Because at 82 years young, I've learned a hard lesson, one I hope you'll never have to learn the way I did. You see, a few years ago, I made the choice to move into a nursing home. And let me tell you, it's a decision I regret deeply. But here's the thing, my mistake doesn't have to be yours. Let's rewind a bit. After my husband passed, I felt lonelier than I ever had in my life. My kids were worried, rightfully so, and they gently suggested that a nursing home might be the safest option. At the time, it sounded logical. Meals prepared, help with medications, no more worrying about the stairs or keeping up the house. But what I didn't realize, what no one told me, was how much I'd lose in exchange for that so-called safety. My independence, my sense of belonging, even pieces of myself I didn't realize were tied to the walls of the home I'd lived in for 40 years. Now, I'm not here to scare you, but I am here to tell you the truth. Moving to a nursing home can feel like closing a door you didn't know was still open, and once it's shut, it's awfully hard to reopen. So today, let's talk about what I wish I'd done differently. Let's start with the first lesson I learned the hard way. Don't rush the decision. When you're feeling vulnerable, whether it's after a loss, a health scare, or just the weight of daily life, it's easy to let others convince you that a nursing home is the only solution. But here's the truth, it's not. There are alternatives, and they're worth exploring. For example, in-home caregivers can provide support while letting you stay where you're most comfortable. Or maybe a family member could move in temporarily. One of my neighbors, Helen, turned her sunroom into a cozy apartment for her granddaughter, and now they've both got companionship and help when they need it. But let's say staying at home isn't an option. That brings me to my second lesson. Don't underestimate the power of your environment. When I moved into the nursing home, I didn't just leave my house. I left my garden, my walking route past the old oak tree, even the smell of my kitchen after Sunday breakfast. Those things might sound small, but they're the threads that weave together your sense of joy, purpose, and peace. Studies show that seniors who stay in familiar surroundings often maintain better mental and physical health. So if you do need to move, make sure it's to a place that feels like yours, a senior community with activities you love, or a smaller home where you can still tend a patio garden. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but Martha, what if I need round-the-clock care? And that's a fair question, which is why we'll talk about how to balance safety with autonomy, because there are ways to get the support you need without sacrificing the life you love. But before we dive into that, let's take a moment to reflect. Have you ever felt pressured to make a decision about your living situation out of fear or guilt? Maybe it's time to pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what do I really want? Because sometimes the best choices are the ones we make slowly, with our hearts and our heads working together. Friends, there's so much more I want to share with you, like how to navigate family conversations about care, or how to spot the warning signs that a retirement community might not be the right fit. But for now, I'll leave you with this. Your golden years should be filled with warmth, connection, and the freedom to live on your terms. Don't let anyone, even those with the best intentions, rush you into a decision that changes the rhythm of your life. You've earned the right to take your time. So let's keep talking, because together we can find a path that keeps you smiling, thriving, and right where you belong. Friends, one of the hardest parts about making decisions later in life isn't just the choices themselves. It's the conversations that come with them. Let's talk about that for a moment. When my children first brought up the idea of a nursing home, I could hear the worry in their voices. They wanted what was best for me, and I loved them for it. But here's the thing. What they thought was best didn't line up with what I truly needed. And that's where the trouble began. So, how do you bridge that gap? How do you honor your family's concerns while staying true to your own desires? Let me share what I've learned. First, speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. It's easy to nod along when your loved ones suggest solutions, especially if they're coming from a place of love. But if your heart isn't in it, Say so. Gently but firmly. I wish I'd said, let's slow down and talk about what I'm comfortable with, instead of swallowing my doubts to keep the peace. Maybe you've been there too, sitting at the kitchen table, nodding while your granddaughter lists the benefits of assisted living, all the while thinking, but this doesn't feel like me. Here's the secret. Your family can't read your mind. They need to hear your fears, your hopes, even your stubbornness. And if emotions run high, try writing your thoughts down first. My friend Carl did just that. He handed his son a letter explaining why staying in his cottage mattered more than convenience. It gave them both time to reflect, and in the end, they found a compromise, a part-time caregiver and a medical alert system. Now, let's say you're considering a retirement community or assisted living. That brings me to my next lesson. Look beyond the brochures. When I toured my nursing home, the staff showed me sparkling dining rooms and activity calendars packed with bingo and yoga. But what they didn't show me was how it felt to live there. The silence in the hallways after dinner. The way residents rarely lingered in common areas because the furniture was stiff and unwelcoming. So, here's my advice. Visit potential places more than once, and at different times of day. Ask to join a meal or an activity. Strike up a conversation with someone who lives there. Ask them, what do you wish you'd known before moving in? And pay attention to the little things, like whether the staff knocks before entering a room or if the gardens are tended with care. Those details tell you more about respect and dignity than any sales pitch ever could. But what if you're not sure what to look for? Let me tell you about Helen again, the one who turned her sunroom into a family space. When her arthritis made stairs too risky, she moved to a senior community, but only after making a checklist of her non-negotiables. I need a kitchenette to make my morning tea, she told them, and I won't live anywhere that doesn't let me keep my bird feeder. Simple things, but they kept her connected to herself. So, grab a notebook and jot down what you can't live without. Is it privacy? A quiet corner to read? The ability to host grandkids for sleepovers? Those are your anchors. Hold on to them. And here's something I didn't realize until it's too late. Autonomy isn't all or nothing. You can have help with bathing or medication without handing over your entire life. Maybe it's a hybrid approach, like hiring a caregiver for a few hours a day while keeping your home, or choosing a community that lets you cook your own meals sometimes. The key is to ask, what parts of my routine do I want to keep, and where do I genuinely need support? For me, losing control over my daily schedule, when to eat, when to rest, was the hardest part. I felt like a guest in my own life. Don't let that happen to you. Friends, I know this is a lot to think about, but here's the good news. You don't have to figure out alone. Talk to people who've walked this path. Lean on local senior centers or online groups. They're full of wisdom and workarounds you'd never think of. And remember, this isn't just about avoiding regret. It's about crafting a life that still feels like yours, no matter where you lay your head at night. So take a deep breath. You've got this. And when you're ready, we'll dive into the final piece of the puzzle. How to plan ahead, so your choices today become the foundation for a tomorrow you'll love. So here we are, friends, standing at the heart of what matters most. Your life, your choices, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing you're steering your own ship. Let's talk about the final piece of this puzzle. How to build a future that honors your independence while preparing for the unexpected. Because here's the truth. Planning isn't about giving up control. It's about safeguarding it. Think of it like tending a garden. You plant seeds today so you can enjoy the blooms tomorrow. One of the biggest regrets I have is not setting up a clear plan before I felt pressured to make a decision. That's why I want to share something my friend George did that I deeply admire. After his wife passed, he sat down with his daughter and a trusted advisor to map out his wishes. He updated his will, chose a healthcare proxy, and even wrote down his preferences for care, right down to, I want pancakes every Sunday morning, rain or shine. It wasn't just paperwork. It was a love letter to his future self. By doing this, he took the weight off his family's shoulders and kept his voice in the driver's seat. Now, I know phrases like estate planning or advanced directives can sound cold and clinical, but let's reframe them. These are tools to protect your freedom. For example, A living will ensure your medical wishes are respected, even if you can't speak for yourself. A durable power of attorney lets someone you trust handle finances, without stripping away your right to make daily choices. And downsizing on your terms, whether that's moving to a smaller home or gifting heirlooms early, can lift the burden of clutter while leaving room for what truly sparks joy. But let's not forget the most vital ingredient of all, staying connected. Loneliness can creep in no matter where you live, but it's especially corrosive in places that feel impersonal. That's why building or rebuilding your community is non-negotiable. Take my neighbor Ruth, who moved to a senior apartment complex last year. At first, she hated it, but then she started a weekly coffee hour in the lobby, bringing her famous lemon pound cake. Now, it's the highlight of her week, and half the building shows up. Turns out, she told me, we all just needed someone to make the first move. Whether it's joining a book club, volunteering at the library, or even video calling old friends, those small connections fortify your spirit. They remind you that you're not just a resident somewhere. You're a person who matters. And here's the beautiful thing. It's never too late to adjust your course. If you're already in a situation that doesn't feel right, like I was, remember, you still have power. Maybe it's advocating for changes where you live, like requesting different meal options or starting a gardening group. Maybe it's reaching out to local agencies about alternative housing programs. Or maybe it's simply giving yourself permission to say, this isn't working. I deserve better. Change might feel daunting, but stagnation is far more dangerous. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. Your later years shouldn't be about surviving. They should be about thriving. You weathered storms, raised families, built careers, and collected a lifetime of stories. That wisdom is your superpower. So don't let fear or haste dim your light. Take the lessons I've learned the hard way and use them as stepping stones. Talk openly with your loved ones. Fight for the little things that make your heart sing. And trust that even when life narrows, your joy doesn't have to. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you faced a crossroads about where or how to live? What choices helped you stay true to yourself? Share your stories in the comments. We can all learn from each other. And if this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Wisdom of Aging. Together, let's keep uncovering the secrets to a life filled with purpose, connection, and the quiet pride of knowing you're living on your own terms. Here's to your courage, your resilience, and the countless tomorrows still waiting to surprise you. Until next time, friends, keep blooming where you're planted. Even if you need to repot yourself once in a while, you've earned it.